Okay, got it.
Hi, guys.
Hi,
Hey,
Susan. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I just have to run to the ladies' room for 1 sec. I'll be right back.
That's loud.
Thanks.
So who is iPhone? Do we know?
I don't know, but Caitlin is joining us.
Glad to see you, Caitlin. Your name anyway so far.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi,
Hi.
everyone.
Good to see you.
Good
Not
to
sure-
see you too.
I'm not sure who this is, but I can ask them to unmute for a moment.
That's true. Ah,
Hi,
Hi.
can
I'm
you
Sally
guys-
Stern.
Oh, hey,
Hello.
Sally, how are you?
Hi, you must be Gordon?
I'm Gordon, and that's Merrill.
and I'm
Hi.
Meryl.
Hi,
Thank you
Meryl.
for
Nice to meet
thank you for
both.
joining us, Sally.
How are things down there?
Well, Gordon's in New York City right now. I'm in Wellfleet. And that's not Wellfleet out his window.
No, that's the Hearst building, right?
I got it, yes.
But Wellfleet is fine. You know, a lot of people lost power in the storm and it's gray and we're getting rain for the next 3 days. So I think probably all the snow will be gone soon. Where are you, Sally?
I'm in the Adirondacks, upstate New York,
Wow.
great.
Lake George area.
Wonderful. You probably have a fair
Yes.
amount of snow yourself.
Yeah, so we're expecting some more starting this evening,
Right, that's what they
which I like. I'm a skier.
Right.
So I
New
have no
York City
grumbles.
got far less than Wellfleet. As I drove down Route 95, I noticed that the snow amounts sort of decreased as I got towards.
Uh-huh.
Great. And Jay?
Were the winds as bad as they said? I heard 82 miles an hour in Wellfleet.
I didn't clock them myself, but they were howling.
It was 85. It was officially 85.
Oh,
yeah.
good Lord.
Amazing.
I know.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah.
Meryl, how are
Everybody.
you?
Good. Good to
Gordon,
see you.
Susan,
How are you, Jim?
doing well. How are you?
Good.
That's good.
Do we know who Jay Bombara is?
I don't know. Hi, Mac.
Oh, hi, Mac. Nice to see you again. Hi, Jay.
I'm just attending as the public. Since you have a second before you start, I purchased last year 1515 Baker Avenue.
Oh, right.
Yes.
But oddly, I just got a notice this year saying welcome and giving me your information. And the only reason I can think of that is that for some reason the assessor leaves the last owner's name on for a year. So if somebody can explain that to me, it'll help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had, because of COVID, we were way behind on sending out letters to new homeowners and so we just did send those out and we just used the information that the town gave us. So
No problem.
Well,
I'm
congratulations,
curious just to hear,
Jay.
especially about the windows tonight.
okay, good.
I almost bought that house myself, Jay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's terrific.
Yeah.
And you notice that Susan is Susan Baker.
Yes, I did recognize the name.
It was
Yeah.
a nice article about you in the Provincetown Independent and about the work you're doing on the house.
Oh, right. Did Casey write it? Maybe she wrote something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I used to spend summer vacations in that house when I was a little kid when it was owned by Reuben Baker, just so you know. We're talking about Bell Vernon, right?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so when I was a little kid, I should tell you some of the stories I have about my cousin uncle, because he grew up in Jamaica because of the Lorenzo Dow Baker. He was his grandson and he went to boarding schools there, English boarding schools in Jamaica. And he was whipped as a kid when they were misbehaved in class, you know, by the teachers. And he used to threaten us. He had a whip hanging in the kitchen that he used to threaten us with if we were badly behaved. I'll never forget. I was scared to death of him after that. He never did. He never came through on that, but it was very effective.
Well, I'd love to hear more about the house when you have time and maybe
Sure,
this
yeah.
summer. I'm very interested in the history of it. My wife and I own another antique house in Farmington, and I'm on the Farmington Historical District as well. We have a historic district here in Farmington, so very supportive of your efforts and looking forward to finding out how you guys work and hopefully probably getting in front of you very shortly on a couple of
Great.
small things.
Great.
Great. My husband grew up in Farmington and my father and stepmother lived in Farmington for many years. So we know it well. It's a
This is
wonderful
great.
town.
I love the connections.
Yeah. Okay, we have more people joining us. So if all of you can show yourselves so that we can see who's with us. Hi, Tim. Nice to have you join us.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Tim.
Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Hello.
And Flo Perrette, can you identify yourself? Oh, you need to unmute yourself.
Yes. Hi, I work for Thor Construction.
Oh, okay, good.
So
Glad you're with
I'll be
us.
a representative for the 84 Commercial Street project.
Great. Okay. Thanks very much.
So
Okay. So what I'd like to do is ask everybody who's presenting proposals today to mute yourselves for now. And ask everybody who's on the commission to unmute yourselves so that we can talk to each other. And I think we should probably start with introductions just so everybody knows who we are. I'm Meryl Mead Fox, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the Historical Commission.
I'm Gordon Kahn, the other co-chair of the commission.
I'm Matt Gack in between them.
Here you are. I'm Susan Baker. I'm the secretary of the Historic Commission.
Jim McAuliffe, I'm a commission member.
And I'm Tim Curley-Egan. I'm a commission member.
Great. And the one person that we're missing is Luke Manning, whose daughter has a birthday today. So he's with her instead of with us. But we do have a quorum, so we can start. The first item on the agenda is 181 Holbrook Avenue. So Caitlin, feel free to unmute yourself.
And I will share my screen. And I'd also like to say that when we consider proposals, we refer to the Federal Department of the Interior's Historic Preservation Guidelines. And just with the intention of trying to preserve as much of Wellfleet as we possibly can while not being impositional and causing huge expenditures unnecessarily.
And I believe that's available on our website, isn't it? A link to the Secretary of the Interior's
Yes, it is.
guidelines?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's also announced in the beginning of the agenda that that's the case. But thanks very much, Gordon, for including that.
181 Holbrook. So this is a project that came before us at our last meeting. And there had been some confusion concerning the need to submit to us, and the homeowner or the trust had not been properly referred to us in the past. This Form B really shows the main house itself, which is quite significant, both architecturally and in terms of the folks who have lived in here over the years. And I'm going to move forward just to show photographs of it. A charming Cape Cod house. 3/4 Cape with additions on both sides of it. This is one of the additions. Now, the subject of our discussion tonight is actually about this house, which is an accessory structure that is on the site. And so these are more photographs of the accessory structure, which is less significant. These jalousied windows, the siding, it's obviously much newer than the historic house. And the proposal is to replace the windows. At our last meeting, we explained to Caitlin, who is the administrator of the trust, that we prefer not to use solid vinyl windows or just vinyl windows in general that have nothing inside them, that are just supported by the vinyl itself in the historic district and in general on old houses. Caitlin, having not been referred to us in the past and having actually used these windows in the past for window replacements and having been issued a permit and a sign off on those permits, had gone ahead and ordered the windows, not knowing that she had to come to us. And unfortunately, that order at this point cannot be canceled. The funds won't be refunded, and the windows are in fact fabricated and ready for installation. That being said, we left off at the last hearing saying to Caitlin that we would ask you to please contact the manufacturer and see if in fact the windows could be canceled and replaced with perhaps wood windows that were clad. And so Caitlin has done that, and that is not a feasible solution. With that said, here we are looking at the replacement of these windows in the not so historic house, and then thinking about future window replacements in the main house. So I'd be more than happy to open it up to a discussion of commissioners.
Could I propose that Caitlin just be able to speak a little bit on her own behalf before
Yes,
we
of course.
start?
Of course.
Yeah, and Gordon, thank you. You did a great job just kind of summarizing what had happened. So again, we were mistakenly issued permits last year, 2 permits last year to replace windows. And as I understand it, there was some, I guess, gaps in or changes in building inspectors. And so when that happened, we had those windows replaced, had no idea that these were not appropriate replacements. And on this next round of trying to replace windows, again, I understand that based on the date it was built, it still is considered historic, but in the much less, I don't want to say important, that's not the right word, but much less historic building. These windows have been built by Window World. They are custom windows, and they cannot be refunded. They're in Hyannis. They're ready to install them. And so, yeah, again, Gordon did a good job sort of summarizing that. And again, I fully understand and appreciate that going forward, work will be done properly. And, I appreciate, the information that I've had from the board in terms of, resources to look at for that. And again, it was, the town mistakenly gave us the permission to do this. And so, my ask is that we are allowed to complete this project, knowing that going forward, other projects will be done properly.
Thank you, Caitlin. Does
I'm sorry.
anybody wish to add anything?
I think that given the circumstances of this, it's perfectly reasonable for us to approve the use of these windows in this accessory structure with the stated understanding that in the future, if anything happened, if any projects are forthcoming on the historic building and the outbuildings, attached outbuildings, that they follow more closely the Secretary of Interior's standards for historic preservation. And I'm fine. That's something that I think would make sense.
I agree with you, Susan.
I too agree with that. Susan, thank you.
Yes, I agree with you as well. And, of course, the other part of it would be that when work is done on the older house, that if you could just be sure to fill out an application for the Historical Commission so that we meet about what you do there, that would be really helpful.
Absolutely. And that happens, I just want to make sure I understand the process. That happens when I go to apply for a permit through the building department, then will they send it to you, or do I have to send something to you?
You need to send something separately. If you apply for a building permit, then they will tell you to apply to the Historical Commission. And
Okay.
what you need to do is just go to the town website and go to the Historical Commission's part of the town's website, which is under boards and committees, I believe.
Yep.
And you'll see the application there, and you just need to fill it out and then send it to our Gmail address, which is also on our portion of the town website.
Okay.
And I think it would also make sense if you have a good understanding of what you want to do, even before you go to the building inspector, come in front of us in case, and that way you can go to the building inspector with a kind of approved rubber stamp
Oh,
from
okay.
us.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that might
see
be
what you're
it.
saying, Susan.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So just kind of discuss it with the board before the
It
permit
wouldn't hurt. It
process.
certainly wouldn't hurt. Yeah.
And, you know, we're always here to talk to you about it. And when you do submit that application form itself, it's important to attach photographs to it and any drawings and anything
Okay.
that you think clearly describes what you're proposing or thinking about.
Okay. Yeah,
so-
I know that we have coming up our, every year it's like, which project can we tackle financially? And I know we have some trim and some siding to replace soon. So I think that's coming up on the summer list. So when we get ready to be at that point, I will definitely do that.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Great. So
and
you want me
send
to-
a note anytime. Sorry,
So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just
so-
saying, you feel free to send us an email anytime if you have questions or you want to talk about a submission.
I will, thank you. And I appreciate your understanding on this project. I know wasn't an easy one. I do need, Window World has asked me to get something in writing from the board saying that we can go forward with this. Would you like me to just send you an email saying that, or can you send me something?
I'm going to send something to Meryl tomorrow summarizing what the board is approving and we're not approving during this session. And we'll send you, I'll send it to Meryl. Meryl, you can cut and paste it and send it on.
Yeah,
If
we'll
you
do
think
that.
that's the best idea. Okay.
Okay.
That's
So
great.
does
Thank
anyone
you
have
so
a
much.
motion?
I move that we approve the replacement of the windows in the accessory building with the vinyl windows already approved by the building inspector and purchased. With the understanding that future projects on the main house and any attached structures more closely follow the recommendations in the Secretary of Interior's standards for preservation.
I second it. Second the motion.
I vote aye. Meryl?
Aye, Gordon.
Jim, aye.
I.
Susan, I.
Congratulations, Caitlin.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time. COVID is running its way through my house, so I'm gonna
Oh,
head
good.
down and take
So
care of the
sorry.
kids.
Uh-oh.
Yes,
So
that
sorry
happened in
to
my
hear
house too. Take care, Caitlin.
Thank you so much.
Best wishes.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, Sally,
Yes.
you are next on the agenda. Gordon, do you want to start or would you like Sally to
I
start?
think Sally, it would be great if you could start and I'll just come down through here and you can tell us a little bit of what you're proposing, Sally.
What-
Yeah, I owned the house since 1986. And we, my boyfriend Roy and I are proposing to bump out the west side of the house, which is where the 2 bedrooms are, 40 inches.
Is that here?
Yes. There's a drawing to show that. And that would just be in the bedrooms. There would be no windows. We would put on the same type of cedar shake siding. And the roof would be the asphalt shingles as well.
That match these here.
Yes.
So the roof line will come like this. And then the exterior wall will be here. And the total amount of the extension is just 40 inches from here to here.
40 inches.
The actual wall, the wall is 40 inches. The overhang is going to maybe be 6 inches past the wall.
Right, I see, right over here. And there are no windows. You're going to keep this window in place?
We'll eliminate that window.
That window on the front of the house will stay. The window that's on the side will be eliminated and there'll be no windows on that bump out.
On the west side of the house.
Okay.
Can I just interrupt? Can I ask you to identify, Sally, your boyfriend's name again? I'm sorry. I just need to make it for the minutes.
Roy Jensen.
Very good.
Jensen.
SEN. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So please, I'm sorry to, just one more time.
Sure.
This all remains as it is.
Mhm.
Yes.
This window, however, is removed.
No,
I'm sorry.
No,
We just have to
This
make that
window.
picture.
The front,
We just have to make that picture large because we see your whole face, but
I've
In the-
got those pictures.
In a small corner down here, we see
Oh,
what you're
really?
talking about.
That's the front of the house.
Yeah, so I see your whole fixed picture, but I don't see the whole picture of the house. So if
I don't know.
I think you can set up your Zoom.
Yeah.
So that there's an option, a viewing option that you can set it up so it's just small little pictures of
oh,
people.
now,
and
okay,
then-
now it's up there and you guys are down there.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, great.
Okay.
Can you see it
So-
okay?
So I'm gonna
Yes,
put-
much better.
So,
Thank
so
you.
looking at this elevation, I'm going to point to a few things. Tell me. This remains,
Yeah,
this remains, this remains, this remains.
Yes,
What about this?
That stays there also.
that's the front of the house.
That's the front of the
Okay.
house, right? See
This
that next
window,
behind- That window comes out.
and the roof is
Now-
extending in this direction from about here at a pitch to an exterior wall that's approximately 40 inches from this point.
Yes.
And there's a
correct.
6-inch overhang,
Roughly, yes, yes.
which is represented here.
yeah.
Yes, there it is drawn out, yes.
Terrific.
Will
And
it
you're
be-
not, and you're not adding any windows on this end.
No, there's no windows.
Okay. All right, great.
So it's a very simple addition.
Yes, we're just looking to get more room in those 2 bedrooms so we can put
A bigger bed.
a bigger bed. It's a small bedroom. Right? We're just looking to put 2 queen-size beds in those 2
We
rooms.
support that.
Yeah, that's all.
And the roofing material will match, and the
Yes.
siding will match, and the corner board will be recreated at the new corner, and all the trim details will match.
Yes, and the overhang in the front is going to continue along the overhang on the side there too. See where the overhang along that ridge up there is above that window that's going to stay?
Here? Oh, no, here.
No, yeah. So that's going to continue with the same overhang over the 40-inch addition.
Oh, right, great. Okay,
Yes, so that's going to have the same, yes.
Okay.
okay. Does anybody?
What year was this house built? I'm sorry. What year?
It's on the agenda. It was built in 1940.
Okay, great. Sorry, let me look at my agenda. I apologize.
It's okay.
1940,
I think
okay.
They were moved in 1940, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they were over on the Bayside in Truro.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yes, and they were small salt boxes, and then all of them had an addition put in. And then I think in the late 70s, it was made into a condominium association.
Ah,
Oh, great. Okay. All
It's
right.
certainly a part of the fabric of Wellfleet, sort of these cottage colonies and relocating, all of that.
And it's charming. I love what you've done with it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband was an architect, actually.
Uh-huh.
And it's really been a fun project.
Yeah. So I would like to say that this seems like a straightforward project which honors this house and its history, and I would like to vote to accept this proposal.
I'll second that.
Should we go for a vote?
Yes.
Merrill, aye.
Gordon, I.
Mac, aye.
Susan, I.
Am I?
Tim, I.
Okay, we're unanimous.
You're all set.
Oh, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming by.
Yep, have a
Thanks.
great winter.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
All right, all the
Yes.
best.
To you too. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Flo, are you with us?
Oh, yep, right here.
Great.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We are well. Thank you for coming before us. I guess I'll just summarize that it's about the Bradford, which we know is at the foot of Holbrook at the corner of Railroad. The foundation is failing, and this proposal seeks to replace a portion of the foundation and replace the exterior material on the replaced portion of the foundation while keeping all of the elevations the same. The finished floor level doesn't change. Nothing on the house itself changes. This porch will be removed and replaced with one that matches it in every detail, that which is there.
Is there anything you want to add or subtract from that, Flo?
Nope, that's basically it. Replacing under 50% of the foundation. Portion, if you go up to that picture. The far side, the far side on the left there, that has already been replaced. The foundation has already been replaced. I mean,
But
all around
previously
it,
replaced, or you have already replaced
it has previously been replaced in a previous project.
it? Mhm.
And so we're, yeah, just replacing the foundation to make it structurally sound.
Okay, I'm going to just continue through this for a moment. This is the Form B. Clearly, this is an important building in the town. It's been there for a long time. Here it is, for those of you who are unfamiliar. And this railing is going to be removed and replaced with one that matches it, or will you reuse this railing?
It depends on how smoothly it comes off, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if the homeowners want to replace it. It'll be done with like materials. Yeah, we're really not trying to change the look of anything.
Okay.
It's really just you have to remove the deck in order to get access to the foundation on the front of the house there.
Haven't you already removed it? I could have sworn I drove by there the other day and it was gone. No?
It is possible. I haven't gone down there recently, personally, actually. But the railing itself might be removed, but the deck structure is
Okay.
was still there last I was down there.
And this highlighted area represents the portion of foundation that you're replacing?
Yep.
And Commercial Street is here, and here's where you said it had been previously replaced.
Yep.
Again, this seems like a pretty straightforward project.
Yes.
I just want to jump in here.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned this to Merrill before, but projects concerning door construction, I do partial design work for them at times. And so anything that I've spoken with them about, for full disclosure, I'll recuse myself. I have discussed this project with them before. So I'm going to abstain for voting on this one, but I believe we still have enough for a quorum, so it's not an issue. And again, this will be a case-by-case basis. I don't discuss all their projects with them, but this one I had spoken to them about.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
This, I would assume, is the original portion of the foundation that has not been replaced, and this is what you are proposing to replace.
Yes.
And then,
You can see the grout between the bricks is almost completely gone in spots. And
yeah, let me just now, someone dropped off various brick samples on my porch. Unfortunately, I had been called out of town because of a death in the family, and I just returned the other day, and now I'm in New York. So although I didn't have a chance to look at these, Merrill was kind enough to go to my porch and photograph them for us so they can be included, which was extremely helpful. And again, this looks like it was a replaced portion of the foundation. And to my eye, this looks like the original foundation. Is that right, Flo?
Yeah, I don't recognize that the first photo you showed on the other side, but yes, no, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So given that, given this, which is maybe the most significant photo, it would have been helpful to be able to see the actual bricks that you're proposing up against this. But we can't do that. That being said, is there one in particular that you guys had planned to use, or should we steer you in a direction?
I mean, I think that these came from Stonewood down in Harwich, and they really assured me that they'd be able to match any colors. However, I think if you go up to the one with the white backing, this guy right here, the Mohawk matte, in my opinion, looks fairly similar. These bricks they're a veneer, so they're maybe about an inch or so thick, and would be set in.
I'm troubled by the kind of flamed highlights in this brick and by the darker brick, because that seems inconsistent with the original brick, which appears to me to have been a molded brick in a real color that we think of as just brick, as opposed to a wire cut brick with variation in it. This looks more like, you might have found it in the 1960s, but this, to my eye, and again, it's just from photographs, looks most similar. we don't want to hold you up, and we're trying to get through this flow. You know,
Mhm.
Thor had spoken to me about it.
It's interesting because to me, the one on the upper left looks most similar.
Right. It may be that I sort of landed here, here, and
Mhm.
here, and I couldn't tell because they weren't right up against each other.
Mhm.
That said, it doesn't have to exactly match what's there. I think based on guidelines, there's nothing wrong with distinguishing between the original foundation and a new foundation, as long as they're sympathetic to one another.
Mhm.
I guess the tricky part, Gordon, is that the other side, the bricks that were chosen, were those chosen by Thor Construction?
Not to my knowledge.
Because those, well, of course, the ones on the left of that picture are quite different from the ones on the right.
Right. The ones on the right are the pre-existing foundation, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And is
And
this
on the left is the
efflorescence
new-
that we're seeing, lime leaching from it, leaching from the mortar that's causing this whiteness, or is the brick actually colored white, I wonder?
I think it's the efflorescence in the brick.
Mhm.
That'd be my guess.
Does, you know, this certainly has those dark spots in the
Mhm.
replaced foundation.
But you're right, it doesn't look real. It doesn't look genuine. It looks like somebody added those more recently.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, going back to, I mean, this looks like it's old. I mean, this looks like the brick on my house at the foundation. Just, this is that old kind of Cape Cod molded brick that, you know, is just one color. So
So
does
I guess the
anybody,
key part is
anybody,
how to deal with that, because this is on one side of the house and that's on the other side of the house. And then the front will have, so I guess what it means is that basically it's not going to match the rest of the house. It will match what was here, hopefully, as close as possible.
Yeah, I would think that if we have a commitment from you guys to try and match the brick face that you're going to be using, the brick veneer, as closely as you can to the original foundation and color and size and all that kind of stuff, then I think that would be a good
I think
move.
that's the best thing to do, and not to use a brick that is, you know, variegated. Just,
right.
I think a monochromatic brick that matches as closely as possible to that which originally existed.
Yep.
We recommend
That was the intent.
I'm sorry. I was thinking perhaps we could recommend that one of those three from V Brick be used with the consultation from the supplier about which matches the best.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, so let me just get what we just said. So we want
Okay,
the
so
V brick.
so I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the proposal with the understanding that one of the three top bricks, let's see, oh, all right, so we have numbers.
It's like, oh, geez. One says
200 plantation red.
plantation red. I can't read these other two, I'm sorry.
My only concern about, I'm sorry to interrupt your motion, is that
Yeah,
you know, we're looking at a photograph and not holding up against the brick, and it might be that there's a better option if once you hold it right up against it.
and
I
we
hate
can
to
say
just say
that,
you can only use one of these three, you know?
Right. My concern with that also is it is also dependent on supply chain. And, you know, with COVID and delays with everything, you know, this project really would be ideally be finished before the summer, before we have the summer crowds coming through town. And if we're absolute intention is to match it as closely as we can to the pre-existing.
to the
all intents.
original existing portion.
Yes,
not to the
exactly.
previously replaced
No,
one.
not to the previous replacement, to the original. However, you know, if it's a difference between getting the bricks in 2 months versus getting them in 6 months or longer.
You know, my experience has been that although there are a lot of supply chains in what I do, and as you know, I'm an architect here in Manhattan, there are often substitute materials that we turn to that are really very similar in nature.
Mhm.
And so I think that, yeah, supply chain is a big issue. It's a good thing you're not getting a Sub-Zero refrigerator because you wouldn't get that for a year. I
so-
think in terms of brick, there are probably any number of manufacturers or suppliers that have some on hand somewhere that they can get to you that closely matches that which was original to the structure.
So, all right, so do you want to do the motion, Gordon? Or do you want me to
Okay,
start again? Go ahead.
I move that the application be approved and that the brick facing on the new foundation match that which originally existed at the structure as closely as possible.
And could we add what part of the structure? At the structure, what side of the building is that? Do we have it? Where the steps are, the granite steps? I guess we could just say at the existing structure where the granite steps are. But it might be good to be more specific.
Right where that number 3 is written up top. The top of the page there.
I was hoping
don't
for
know what
a north arrow.
Orient. Yeah.
Well, you're replacing this elevation and this elevation.
Which is
Yeah.
the north side, right?
Is that the north side where the steps are, Flo?
You know, I want to say it's facing towards the ocean side.
How about, as indicated on drawing S2?
There we go.
But then the issue is we want to make sure it's matching that portion where the granite steps are. Because I'm not sure what's in the front of the building, frankly, in terms of the brick. All I know is I took pictures on the right side of the building as you look at it and on the left side of the building as you look at it.
I may have
Because the
included
front
some
is
photos
covered.
in the application of the underneath the deck. I'm not sure.
Yes, I think farther, well, we have that.
You keep going
Yes,
down
you
further.
can't see the brick in front from that. We have that. All right, does it say?
Oh, the front bricks look very similar to the picture next to the granite steps and
Well, why
Anyway.
don't we just say that we want to match the brick that's adjacent to the current granite steps?
Right. That appears to be the original foundation brick,
Yeah,
not the previously replaced foundation brick. I move that the application be approved and that the brick used to face the new portion of the foundation match bricks that appear to be original to the building and are adjacent to the granite steps and not match the brick that was previously replaced.
thank you. That's wonderful. I second the motion. So shall we vote? I
Yes.
vote aye.
Jim,
Aye.
I. Jim, I.
Mac, aye.
Susan, I.
Okay,
Okay.
unanimous.
Thanks,
Thank
Flo.
Thanks very much.
thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Flo, listen, if in the course of looking at this stuff,
Mhm.
they deliver some bricks to the site or they deliver something and you want us to take a look at them, just, shoot us a note. And we can put in our 2 cents. We're trying to help. We're not trying to be an obstacle in the way of getting this done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Have a good night.
You too.
Hey,
Right.
Okay, Andrew Long, you are up next. And this is for 135 Payne Hollow Road, which is a building that was built in 1846.
I didn't know the exact date it was built, but yes, it's older.
Yeah, this is the Form B, which was, we have a preservation consultant who updates the historic inventories on the buildings in Wellfleet, and this was updated fairly recently.
Yep, I have that. Gordon sent that to me. That was
Oh,
nice.
good.
Sure. Hey, Andrew, how are you?
Good.
Listen, I'm going to go through.
If I don't do anything correctly, just let me know.
No. I'm actually going to allow you to take the lead in presenting this. And I'm going to first scan through the Form B and then go to your presentation, which was
Okay.
very clear, and I'm going to let you do it, and you direct me as to when you need a page turn.
Okay.
But for starters, it was built in 1846. I'll just go through this. It's a beautiful and well-loved house.
It's also got a wonderful history. I don't know if you got a chance to read any of it, but
Yep.
it's,
Yeah, I read it all. It's great.
yeah,
Right down to Alice Hoffman. It's
yeah.
owned by the Paynes.
And I talked to Buddy Payne about a bunch of these. I've been living on this property. There's another house behind it. So I've been here working with Roland for like going on 6 years now.
Wow.
And got a chance to talk to Buddy about this house, and then the other one that's further in the back that I guess was in the family as well. So
yeah, it's very charming, and it's been altered, but it's been altered sensitively. Now I'm going to just immediately turn to your application, and I'm going to let you kind of just go through this with us, and then we'll look at the drawings.
okay, so I was trying to think of the one thing about this house is it has been worked on. I mean, I even remember when I was younger, I guess I thought it was late 80s, but I guess it was the early 90s when they redid the whole thing for Alice. And I probably should have sent you a close-up picture of that. The only thing that I believe is very most likely close to all original is that front facade that if you scroll down to the thing I sent in, Gordon.
I have to switch, Andrew.
The pictures, oh, sorry. Yeah, right there. That front door entablature with the side lights and the top light, I'm almost positive that's original. The glass is warped in the whole 9 yards, and you can see rust where the cut nails are coming through.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when they redid it, that little unit in that front gable stayed, which is nice. And the corners, actually, I think the corner boards are probably original as well. When I did the piping plover there on Main Street, we found a similar, those corner boards are also original. We just had to replace some of the rot. So they did leave a lot of the original, but the windows, the siding, a lot of that's all been replaced when they did the remodel.
Should I
so
go
anyway,
back to the application, or would you just like to explain it based on these drawings? Which also
yeah, so I guess let me go back and I'll just go over quickly what they would like me to do, but you can leave these you can leave the drawings too, Gordon, that's fine. So as you can see on the top right there, right above the original gable, yep, exactly. That's the original, what I've been calling the box. That's the original box. And that drawing there shows our two proposed shed dormers on the top of the original box. And then there's also that, you have your pointer on the little connector.
Yeah.
That connector is new, and then that goes over to the bigger addition. Yep. And I tried to draw that up to mimic the original box as best as possible. One thing I did notice I didn't do, when we do those corner boards, I will build it out like the original there. Notice how there's like 2 1x2s on the edges to kind of give it a 3-dimensional look. And I can do that on the addition.
Right.
Didn't draw that in. So that addition to the left is a proposed addition that does not exist right now, and neither does that little connector. So from this view, as you can see, the house, that little box on the right, that stays. My whole goal was to do absolutely nothing to that original box. Let's see, Gordon, if you can scroll down, get a side view. Yeah, there we go. So the white, the section that I did not crosshatch out there, that, yep, right there, that's the original box. And I hate to make you jump around, but if you go back to that one Schedule B or form, there's a picture of the house in 1981 that shows that box, you know, in its entirety with, yeah, that's the newer one. I think there's another one from 81. I saw in the thing when you sent me. Yep, there it is. So you can see that box has basically stayed, you know, the same. The little appendage on the back would have been the kitchen. Yep, right there, exactly. That would have been the kitchen. And when they redid the remodeling, that was completely redone. If you hate to make you jump around, but if you look at the side view now, yep, go down again. There we go. Other side, keep scrolling down. One more. There it is. That, yep, right there. They took apart the old little appendage and then they added a little second floor. And with the exception of the ground floor on that, you can, yep, right there, you can still see some of the older timbers of the original structure, but everything else is all new.
This, however, is original.
Yeah, well, the lower section is, Gordon, the roof framing is all new. They have their HVAC unit up in the little, there's like a little, not a crawl, but a little attic area up there. And and so the whole roof structure is all newer dimensional lumber.
But Andrew, the roof pitch remains the same.
Roof pitch stays the same. That's correct. Yep. And they did a good job with the shingle roofs, but it was never treated over the years. And it's just, I'm surprised it's still there. It's really, really bad shape. So anyway, that section of the building you can see in this drawing here. And then if you look up at the top, my box, yep, my box, the original box is going to stay there. And then what we're doing is we're just adding on an appendage that creates a larger, yep, kitchen space. And then it still has that little breezeway entry on the bottom. Yep. And then the silhouetted blanked out area. Yep. That's the existing master bedroom. That was at one time, I guess, that barn. It said in the literature that it was a barn. But that was also redone in that early 90s remodeling phase. And then this here is, again, the bottom drawing shows, yep, the bottom drawing shows the original box to the right with our new dormer on it. Yep, we're getting rid of that doghouse dormer and putting in something that, you know, we were thinking what might look a little more like what they would have done in the 1800s instead of the big doghouse. And then the addition there is to the left. Yep, I'm just trying, basically, we're continuing the existing roof line. The pitch stays the same. And we're just adding another dormer so that the bedroom that was there now can just gain a little more space. It's very cramped and low headroom. Skylight was not my idea. I'd be happy to get rid of that, but we put that in for light for the stair opening right there that's underneath.
And then again, the roofing material, the siding material, the corner boards, they'll all match that which exists.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going on basically what the front facade looked like. And if you scroll up again to the top where, yep, right there, you'll see that addition on the left. They had a really neat scalloped frieze. There's kind of like an elliptic cut on the bottom. It's not a perfect rectangle. And I love that. So
are you talking about under the rake?
Yep. Yeah. Under the rake there's like a little frieze board that's up against the building, and you can see it in my drawings better. I mean, I kind of, you know, tried to make it curve. See how it's got a nice gentle curve to it, which I think looks pretty neat. And that's on the original building. There you go. Yep. It's not.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So the dormers, so there are no dormers on the original box building, or there is a dormer there?
Yeah, if you go down, Gordon, sorry, if you go down again to that side view, you'll see the doghouse dormer that's on there now. Yep, up, wait, go up again. There it is. There it is, right there it is, right there.
That's
So
not original.
that's what's there right now. And what they did is there's the bathroom there for the upstairs. And I guess to gain enough headroom. It's a really smashed in bathroom. They put that in, but it's, it's got a
Yeah, okay.
semi-elliptic.
But this
top
but
window.
this nonsense is going away, and you're going to have
Yeah,
a simple shed dormer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Not that I want to editorialize.
yes. Well, of course not. That's where I remember when I first started in the business in the early 80s, that's what they were doing, those things all the time, those big elliptic.
Those windows from Anderson with the half. Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, that's disappearing, and then we're just gonna add back in a little shed dormer. Yep, similar to that there. That's right.
Mhm. I think I saw that up here. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my computer, which I always do, but
No, you're
I
doing
can
a great job.
apologize every day.
No, you're doing a good job.
Thankfully, I don't have to do this. I would never be able to move around like this.
I'll bet you could.
So anyway, so yeah, the siding is going to be shingle. Now the front facade, we are going to match the lap siding, the clapboard. Yep, right there. So the new facade there, that'll all be matching. Yep, that'll all be white, and it'll match what's there now. Trim will be white. The new trim, we're probably going to do an AZAC, but the dimensions are all going to match what's there now. So once it's painted, hopefully the idea is it'll look like it's, original wood. And then
And the siding itself will be wood with an exposure and thickness that matches that which exists.
Correct. Yep. It'll be, probably be a prime cedar. Yeah. I think it's it's usually, I think that's a 4.5, but it's generally around the standard 5-inch exposure.
And you're able to align the siding coursing?
I hope so. One of the issues we're having with this, we had to replace a section of rot. When they did this, I guess part of these walls, when they were doing the remodeling I remember this when I first started, there was a big thing about putting plastic on the exterior and then putting the insulation with the vapor barrier on the inside. And basically all it did was create 2 barriers. So it trapped all the moisture. I've seen a few things where that's happened before, and we had to replace some rot. So I'm afraid we're going to have to replace a lot of this when we get into it. But I will try and keep the exposure exactly the same. We may have to tweak 1 or 2 boards if it looks like I can get close to matching a header or a sill, obviously, just to keep the lines nice. But
and you can put a corner board between the two to distinguish new from old.
Oh, I always try and have some kind of something to butt into, exactly, so we can head everything off. Yep.
Andrew, you didn't talk about this.
That's a screened-in porch that Roland wanted. That goes.
Is there a plan view of that anywhere?
Did I send you? I thought I sent you a plot plan of everything. Yep, there it is.
So this is the screen porch out here?
That's it right there. And we had to push that. It's got that weird little breezeway to it, which is also going to be a screened in segment. Yep. And we pushed that away from the house in order to stay out of the 50-foot setback for the conservation.
There's a pond over here somewhere, maybe?
Yeah, it's the fire pond is over there. And then that dotted line that goes right along the back edge of that screened in porch. Yep, that's the 50-foot setback.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the whole house is in the 100-foot setback. So they were, they were understanding about that, but did not want anything in the 50-foot. So
this is actually a square screen porch. Correct. That's set apart from the house with a connecting link.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, that sounds feasible. It was hard to tell from your drawings if it was an irregular form, but I understand it's because you're drawing ahead on elevation.
It was an oblique angle, and I'm learning how to do some CAD. So
And what about the details of the screen porch? Can you speak to that a little bit in terms of what the muttons are going to be, or the mullions are going to be, and are the screen panels removable?
Yes. Yeah. So what we're going to do is there's another, the guest house on this property, which is that weird L-shaped thing down to the left. Yep. Right there. We redid that 3 years ago now. We did that 3 years ago. And then that back rectangle going down again, behind it. No, yep, right there. That's actually a screened-in porch, and that is done with yellow pine. He took a building down in New Bedford, an old textile building, probably, I'm guessing late 1880s. And a lot of the timbers we've been milling up and using for that. And I'm thinking he's probably going to want to do the same thing for that. It'll all be, a yellow pine with some sort of a preservative on it. And then the panels would be the same thing with a metal charcoal screen.
And didn't you reuse some materials also at the Piping Plover in that renovation?
Oh, yes. Yep. We sure did. All the big beams in there, the rafters and everything, I milled those all up. And then I heard you guys discussing the brick. The greatest thing is he took all the brick down, and just like at the Piping Plover, what we'll do is we make a veneer out of the brick. So the foundation work we're going to be doing on these additions will all have a veneer of that brick, and it matches the existing brick that's on the original box really well. We took a piece and looked at it, and it's really, it works great. We're really lucky to have that.
Andrew, thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to add? I think your application is clear and complete, but is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, just the Marvins are going to be the ultimate Marvins with they'll be white clad on the outside. So hopefully they won't, draw too much attention. Everything will be white. Right. And then the inside will be wood. And then they do have the true divided light with the Muntins.
And they're true divided light with a removable energy panel?
No, they're the actual, I'm sorry, they're the simulated divided light. Sorry, simulated divided light with the little spacer in between it.
So the thickness of the mutton bars is not so huge.
No, exactly. And because what's there now is those early ones where they did have those energy panels on the outside, and he doesn't like those. And personally, I don't like them that much either. But
I don't like them that much either. But it's a good way to get the.
It's a great way to save energy. There's no doubt about that.
But using the simulated divided light from Marvin in the Ultimate series with the spacer bar is a good choice.
Yes, yeah, it'd be very similar to what we did at the Piping Plover. The top would have the Muntins, I guess a 2/2, and then the bottom, I believe, is going to be clear.
And they'll be clad in what on the outside?
No, they'll be the Ultimates have the aluminum cladding. It's white, but it's an anodized, so it's all white. You don't have to paint it. And then the casing, obviously, the casing on the sills will match what's there, but that'll be AZAC as well.
Okay.
Does anybody have any comments?
I'm actually a little confused. When
I know it's a big project. I'm not surprised.
Huge project. And when I look at the plot plan, could we go back to that?
Maybe.
Actually, you know what, Gordon? It's okay. Why don't you go to the top?
Okay, I can go to the. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Right. So it looks like the existing dwelling is the part that's in blue.
Yes, that's the original box. Yep.
And then the addition where is the addition?
All that red. Yep. All the red that Gordon's outlining. Yep.
All right. So when we look at the house from the original doorway, what will we see with the addition there? Do we have
the top photo in my drawings?
What you'll see, Meryl, as I understand it, let me just say this so I'm sure I'm clear, is you'll see this original facade.
Yeah.
And then set back from it, connected with a link here, you'll see this in the background.
All right. So that was what was confusing me. I wasn't, can you go back to the top, Gordon? So when we look at that drawing, I was thinking it went straight across, but it doesn't. Actually, what's on the left is set back significantly from the historic house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is it set back?
It's set back the length of that historic house.
Okay, that's very helpful to know.
24 feet, maybe, I think.
Let me just look over here again at the plot plan to show you. Right, so here is the original house.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is all addition.
Okay.
Here, including the connecting link in this.
Okay. And then that little part, it looks like on the East edition that there's something that sticks out in front that's slightly different. Oh, I'm sorry, on what you were just on.
Where was I?
You were looking at the plot plan, yeah. So when you look at the East edition there, and you look toward the north side, is that a little porch there? What is that? There's a
Yes,
line. that
yeah,
goes
that's,
through?
yep, that's the little porch with the columns I had on the other picture. Yep.
It's this right over.
I'm sorry.
Getting the workout.
Okay, all right.
It's this porch here.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be sure I really was visualizing this correctly three-dimensionally. Okay, that's helpful.
Can I ask a question? Why the railing in the little connector?
Roland just wanted something. That was one of his little ideas. We were just trying to give it a little character in between the two. Totally open for suggestions. We can even get rid of it if you guys would like.
Well, it's interesting looking at the Holbrook house we just looked at, where they were replacing the vinyl windows in the accessory building. They have an old original structure, and then they have tons of additions that were put in over, connected additions that were put in over time, none of which have those kind of decorative detail. So it might look more kind of, this is just me thinking this, it might look more authentic without having things like added, railings that wouldn't serve any purpose anyway. Just throwing that out there. What do you guys think?
I'm looking.
I actually agree with you in terms of what's historically appropriate. I get why he might want it for a little interest, but
Well, the other real quick thing, just so you know my thinking when I was doing this, and then that's going to be a low pitch rubber. That's an EPDM rubber roof right there. And again, it was a tough call. It was kind of hard to finagle this because there's like all these different elevations with the buildings itself. And so that's one of the reasons why I like to have an appendage. It kind of let me cheat. I could finish the original building on all of its lines, and then I could also connect it to a new building with different lines above the roof line, of course. Down below is all going to match up. But so I had it originally as just, the flat roof EPDM, and then Roland thought it looked a little boring. And so I just, we just drew in a rail, but I'm completely open to any suggestions.
I would suggest driving around and looking at houses from a similar age that have attached buildings that were historically attached. Then that might be, you could take a few pictures and show them and say, just so it kind of blends with the historical architecture in Wellfleet, this might be it. I mean, that's just an idea. Or he could drive around and do that himself, but.
Well, we spent a lot of time driving around Wellfleet, but yeah, that's fine.
an architect on the commission. Gordon, do you have a sense about what might be done with that?
As an architect, I tend not to embellish too many things. I sort of let massing and form stand on its own. And I love the fact that your new addition is set way back. And I love the fact that it's separated from the original house by a connecting link. I mean, I think ideologically, that's really perfect. Matching the pitch, matching the details, and yet at the same time, distinguishing it from that which was original is terrific. I could take or leave that railing without seeing a drawing without it. It's hard for me to say if it's too Spartan. It certainly is not a detail that's found elsewhere.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I probably didn't draw that in. It's probably, I will definitely drive around, and maybe what I'll do is when we get to that point and Roland and I get on the same page, I can easily submit another drawing from that angle for you guys if you want to check it out.
That'd be great.
To do that.
That's good of you.
Yeah, that would be terrific, Andrew. And I know Roland is concerned about everything looking right and being historically correct.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very glad that you're getting rid of this business.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
I have a question. In the first drawing, Where you
Hold on,
got a new.
find my way back there.
Yeah, sorry, Gordon. I'm gonna
It's
make it
okay,
quick.
here we go. Here, Tim?
And on the east elevation for the proposal, the column is blocking. How is that door detailed, the surrounding?
Where?
Because in the
I'm sorry.
existing, yeah,
Here.
in the existing, it's the door is, as we talked, it's a strong feature and it's hard to see. Are there lights on both sides or above
Yes,
the door?
yeah, it's got two side lights. It does not have a top light because he wanted a porch. And, obviously, when you do these two-dimensional drawings, everything's fit, head on, but you're really never going to be looking at it like this. You will see the side lights if you're standing in front of the
Right.
building looking at it. And that door, I would obviously prefer to have it centered, and it was centered, but he wanted to add side lights. And there's a closet inside off to the left, like a coat closet or a garment closet, that takes up that space. And to the right is a door that goes down to the basement. And so I was kind of, it's that tough area between what somebody wants you to draw and what you feel like you can draw. So
I'm aware, yeah.
In some ways, Tim, to my eye, coming from a person, by the way, who has a house with a porch where nothing lines up with the columns in front, this feels like a secondary door, and this feels like the primary door.
Oh, no, I agree. I was just curious about what that was detailed like.
Yeah, in other words, you were wondering about what's behind here.
Yeah, and I understand with an oblique view, you can't see it. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything else?
Well, I guess I have concerns about dormers on historic buildings. I kind of like the idea of keeping the historic building intact, and I realize that this isn't intact because it already had that other dormer. But I guess in looking at that top drawing, it looks like the dormers are going more straight out than the ones on the left. And
well, that dormer on the upper right that Gordon was just on, yep, right there, that's actually behind it. That's on the addition in the back.
oh,
There is on that original box, there is no dormer on that side of the house. If you go down to the next, sorry, Gordon, we're making you work here.
No, I'm glad to go. I'm glad to. I'm in the right place.
A little bit more. So that side one, I guess, is the last page. Sorry.
Right. Oh, but are these skylights?
Yeah, there you go. So that's the part of the original house. And again, he wanted to add some light. There's two, there's a bedroom and an office, and then bedroom. Yep. So he wanted the skylights. I'd be happy to not put the skylights in.
I mean,
Don't tell him I said that though.
well, following the Secretary of Interior guidelines, really on historic homes, they are not permitted. They are not recommended at all.
Right.
So I would love to see those go.
Yes, I'm with Susan on that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Me too.
Okay.
The item is new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. So glad we're all in agreement about that. And then I just want to be sure. So on the other side of that building, is there a dormer? There is, right? On the historic building?
On the original piece?
That's over here.
On your plan, on the original building, it looks like there's, so you're saying the dormer on the right is actually
That's
Way back.
that's behind it. The
And how
dormer
about
on the left is there because what we're doing is replacing the doghouse dormer that's there now. And that was put on, I'm guessing, in when they did the construction phase in the early 90s, late 80s.
Okay.
and those two skylights would go as well.
Oh yeah, yep, those are gone because that dormer is going to be a little bit longer now.
Right,
Okay.
more
And-
like the shed dormer. Yeah.
Yes, yep.
So could we look at that dormer again? I'm sorry, I'm just a stickler about dormers. And I
Right- oh,
agree
it's
with
right there,
about
that's
shed
right.
dormers.
It's this dormer here.
Yeah, it looks big. Can you go back,
It's,
dormer? It looks, it's more the angle, Gordon, from the.
Andrew, help me for a moment.
It's
Where
that
am I?
one right there. Wait, you're right there. Just go,
On
yeah,
top.
it's to the right there. That's the original box. Yep. So it's that one right there. Yep.
And it's set back this far from
Good.
the
Yeah.
front of the house.
I forget what it is. It's It's like 6 or 8 feet. It's just enough to enclose the room that's there now.
Yeah, I mean,
I was trying to make it as small as possible and still have it work.
Right.
yeah. I mean, you know, one of the things about dormers in these old houses is that, you know, a sort of an inconspicuous shed dormer gets you the headroom you need on the second floor of these houses, because to some extent, the space is not entirely habitable up there. They're really quite tight.
Yeah.
I grew up in a house like that. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I live in a house like that, and I want to add a dormer.
Me too.
And I live in a house like that. I'm in an 1840s house as well.
Right.
I mean, I think since this is replacing an existing dormer, I mean, we're not talking about restoration of this house to its original form. So I don't have an issue with this dormer. I'm concerned that it might look a little funky, but you know, that's.
I think it's set
That's
significantly
backing up,
far back from the front.
Yeah, that was
Right.
part of my concern. It's great to see that. Can we just look at the very top again? I'm sorry. So I just want to be sure in terms of the angle, is the angle similar to the angle on the building on the left, on the addition on the left?
Well, this is a 3 and 12 pitch, so it's shallower. These have steeper pitches.
That's what I was thinking. And I'm wondering, could it have a steeper pitch? Would that be a problem?
So what now on the original, so the reason that's a 3 was I wanted it to come into the main roof line low enough so that it didn't overpower the main roof line. That's always a problem with dormers. You don't want, well, for me anyway, I don't want them to take over the roof, the original 12 pitch or 10 pitch.
Yeah, I agree.
So we tried to squish it. We tried to squish it down. The problem is when you get, yep, right there, exactly, Gordon. When you get to the eave, you're down to 6 feet or so.
Right, that's it.
And then, and so suddenly you're getting into your 6'8" issue.
Mhm.
Um,
All right.
So anyway, that's why they're a little different now. That one is a little bit bigger because I had the freedom to push everybody up a little bit. And again, I was trying not to go too much higher than the original, exactly, because that's the other grave sin, is to make the addition overwhelm the original.
Right.
May I ask, how far back are these two dormers set from this rake board?
I think those are all that the wall and the roof line is a 2-foot setback, I believe.
These are 2 feet behind this.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay. I mean,
I just want to point out, if you just scroll down a little bit, Gordon, the image you're seeing is standing at foot level here, and you can see that the doghouse dormer on the left-hand side. I mean, I would have been curious to see a drawing of the doghouse dormer versus what's going to be put in as an exact oblique as you're showing in the first drawing. But I think that as an overall, I think it's a better solution than the doghouse. And if you're looking at it from that image standing at ground level, because it's set back 6 feet, it's not as much, to me, it doesn't bother me as much and seems like a more sympathetic addition to the house.
Yeah, and actually that's a good point. I should have pointed it out. You will not even see if you go out to the top, Gordon, to that, no, right there, that picture, but take your cursor up to the dormer. Yes, so from that roof line straight across, yep, up higher, yeah, like straight across would be the doghouse, yep, going like
oh yeah,
that.
no, I'm sorry, what you're saying is it would be this. So the bulk of the quote unquote doghouse dormer or gable dormer is significantly more than that of the shed.
Yes, correct. And if I had taken I just took the angle of that original house picture because I wanted everyone to see the front. But for instance, if I was to step to the left about 10 or so feet, you would really see how big it is.
Yeah, it's not.
And you can drive by and take a look at it. I mean, you can't miss it.
No, it's big. I've seen it.
Yeah. So you're
You know,
saying,
I myself am of the opinion concerning this sort of shed dormer addition that as long as we maintain the rake of the original house, which is this,
yep,
that having a setback shed dormer is acceptable because it makes the house livable today.
yeah. People
know,
are-
in the evolution of a house, this seems like something that at once preserves these original lines and also means you can stand up that much closer to the outside wall without hitting your head at 2 a.m. when you get out of bed.
Well, it's also replacing, it's improving what had been put in,
Previously, yeah.
you know, more recently that kind of destroyed more of the lines of the property. So I think it's a good improvement.
Yeah.
I agree.
Again, the only thing I would say is, as Meryl was alluding to, I mean, you've got these at 3 and 12. I wonder, because Meryl picked up to her eye that this was a steeper pitch than this, I wondered about these dormers being 3 and 12.
Yeah, I could do that. That if sure, because that would only drop the
Drop that.
intersection of the 2 roof lines lower, which would look better. Sure.
Right, it would take this point and bring it down, this
Yep.
point, bring it down, and then this
Yep.
slope would match this slope.
Yep. Generally, you know, as a carpenter who's mortified of water, I always just try and not go lower than a 4, but we can do a 3. We just increase the, you know, the lap a little on the shingles, and I do ice and water and everything anyway. So
I was gonna say at least 2-ply underlayment and ice and
Sure.
water shield over the
I-
whole thing.
I
Yeah,
just do ice and water all the time anyway. But yeah, we could do that. We could easily do that.
yeah, but Meryl, that was a good thing to notice, because actually, as I look at it now, after Meryl pointed it out, these look flat to me or too flat to me, because I'm looking at them relative to these.
Okay.
I guess the problem is that I like the ones on the left better.
Oh,
But
But maybe if they were all the same, then you wouldn't notice that the ones on the right are flatter than the ones on the left.
Yeah, that might be. But it also sounds like that building will be set back so far that it might not be an issue.
Yeah,
So it doesn't bother me to keep it the
to
way
keep
it
these
is
at
now
4
that I
and 12 and
understand.
these at 3
I
and
just
12.
was hoping the one on the right could have the similar, you know, slant to it, but it's okay. I get why it's that way, and
Mhm.
I'm fine with accepting the proposal as it is, perhaps with the exception of the little balustrade.
And the skylights.
Yes, definitely the sky.
Yes, absolutely. I think if someone wants to make a motion, I think
Gordon, you're so good at making motions. Would you
I can
like
make a motion.
Or
I
you make
move that
that.
the proposal as submitted be accepted with the exception of the railing shown on the connecting link and any skylight that is shown.
any skylight that is shown? Yeah.
Right. Does that
I will
cover it, guys?
Second that.
Great. Jim seconds the motion. I vote aye.
Gordon, aye.
Mac, aye.
Jim, I.
Tim, I.
Susan, I.
Great.
Hey, thanks, Andrew. It's good to see you again.
Thanks so
Good to
much,
see you,
Dan.
Gordon.
Enjoy this
Thank you all
project.
Very much. I appreciate your input.
So
It's
what's
gonna be a fun project.
Yeah, and call us
Bye.
anytime if you need suggestions or help. Tell Roland to call me, whatever you need.
Well, I will, there's a lot going on right now, but I will, as soon as I get some sort of a drawing that makes sense, I'll send something in and we can, you know, I'd love your input, honestly. Thank you.
Sure, we'll see you again and again if you want to come
Okay,
back.
great.
We're happy to do it.
Well, good night.
Good
Good
night.
night. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well done, folks.
Yeah.
So we've gone through the proposals and now we have some other items to consider. Anybody have anything they want to say about what we've talked about so far? Or should we just?
I just have one concern. I was I'm confused with the first proposal, the request by Window World to have it in writing. Can someone explain that to me?
No.
I don't know why they want it.
Well, I think that they're going to be installing the windows and they want to
Yeah.
be sure that they have our approval.
Yeah, I just wondering, like, you know, and this is my cynical brain, is that they might use that letter to say, hey, these are historic windows approved by a historic board, even though we were sort of had our hands tied in this situation. I was just thinking when we read that letter, we might want to be really careful about how specifically wording that.
Exactly.
I agree.
But it's an exception, yes.
Good point.
Yeah.
So I had actually thought that perhaps we might want to ask them for a letter to say that the windows really are all constructed. But we didn't do that and we've approved it. So,
Right.
but yeah, I'll be very careful about the wording.
Yeah, so they can't pull out a strand of a sentence and say, oh, look, these historic commission, approved are.
Right. These are approvable by historic commission.
Yeah, okay. I will run it by Susan and Gordon both. We'll work on it together.
That's a good point, Tim. Thank you for.
Thanks a lot, Tim.
Mhm.
I'm just
Okay.
cynical.
No, it's good.
Cynicism is good.
Okay, so the next item is a meeting with the Wellfleet Building Inspector, James Badera. And we want to do this as soon as possible because it's so important that we work closely with the building inspector. We had a meeting scheduled. Well, let's see, originally he was supposed to come to our meeting. We decided not to have him come to this meeting because we had so many items on the agenda and we didn't want him to have to sit through all of that. And it didn't make sense to talk about what we need to talk about with him, with everybody sitting there waiting to present. So Gordon and I decided to just meet with him separately so that we could do
Excellent.
it quickly.
I think that's a good idea.
And Katie sent some times out to him.
Yeah, and so Gordon and I are in the process of scheduling that. We had something scheduled for this weekend, had to change it because of Gordon's travel plans.
And the town was closed.
Oh, that's true. And the town was closed.
Right.
It makes it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I was out of town because my husband's mom died. And so I was in
Not
Dallas.
fun. Yeah,
Not fun.
no.
So the next item on the agenda is meeting with the select board about the design guidelines, and Gordon and I will be going before them on the 8th. To do that, I just submitted the materials to them.
I don't need to show up for that, do I? Which I originally was going to because you couldn't, but I don't need to be there, do I? Or
You don't have
should
to unless you'd like to come.
I prefer not to, but
welcome to come. I don't.
thank you. I just have so many Zoom meetings at night. It's like, if I don't have to go to one, I won't go to one.
You enjoy the evening, Susan.
Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah.
You guys got to have it covered.
I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think we will too. So that's, we've been working on that and that's basically set to go. And then.
May I ask, is the discussion about the having of guidelines or the content?
It's all of the above.
Okay.
Basically, well, there were at least a couple of concerns mentioned when I presented the design guidelines the first time. One of them was from Janet Reinhardt about how expensive historic preservation can be. And then Ryan was concerned that our design guidelines might somehow lead to more demolition delays. So, and let's see, so we realized in looking at the introduction that I had written for the design guidelines that it would probably make sense to change it to just be advisory in nature right now, rather than saying that we're going to use it for our meetings, because I think they got very worried that we were going to be sticklers for detail and require everybody to spend a lot of money on preservation. So we decided to just say it's advisory for homeowners and advisory for us. And that's basically what we designed these for anyway, right? I mean, it was just to kind of try to be more consistent and clear about what we're doing for ourselves and for others. And we probably need to try them out and see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think these guidelines are, are what federal and state and local municipalities have very similar kind of guidelines. They're an ideal, and they, there's something that we share with people to educate them what that ideal would be for approaching any kind of work on a historic property. And then we work with them to be a little bit, if they can't meet any of those requirements, we can work with them.
Right. It's not the letter of the law. It just
Right.
sets up an ideal standard.
Right.
Yeah, so we just wanted to make it clear that it's not the letter of the law in the introduction. And then the other thing was, originally, I thought it would be useful under the window part of the design guidelines to have information about historic windows and what was typical at different periods. But I think that worried them that we were going to require, you know, for example, in my house, I'm in an 1840s house and the windows are 2/2, which isn't appropriate. That's from a later era, but somebody changed them and I actually like them that way. But it means that if we change our windows, I don't have to go back and do what would have been appropriate in 1840. And
Right.
so I left all of that out because I figured it just was getting them confused. And, you know, there's other information about windows that's quite detailed still. So we're basically going before them to show them the new variant of the design guidelines and then answer some of their questions about, you know, expense and about demolition delay. And, you know, I basically see it as an opportunity to inform the listening public more about preservation, as well as
Sure.
the select board. We actually have the right to create design guidelines and use them without going before anybody, but we're doing this because we want to develop a more collaborative relationship with all the boards in town. So we're planning to try to meet with the planning board as well. And we're talking to Jim Badera, the new building inspector, about them as well, just to try to, you know, have a system that works better about historic preservation in general.
And would we, if the select board says okay to these guidelines, for whatever that's worth, would we put them up on our website as a guideline for the public?
Well, I get the thing is, I think we also need to talk to the building inspector and the planning board, and then we can decide whether we want to put them on the website or not.
Because when we did research into what other towns are, you know, other towns' guidance is, we were able to locate the guidelines from other towns fairly readily.
But they're on the Mass Historical Commission website. That's how we access them. They don't necessarily post them because I think they do freak people out. So,
Right.
Well, if we just posted the Secretary of the Interior guidelines, for instance, which
yeah,
are basically similar in many ways, with details on our website, we could just refer people to those
yeah.
and say,
they
no,
are-
these are the standards that we use to think about people coming in front of us with historic.
And that's already there
Yeah.
Right.
in our website. I
Right.
think, so often, Gordon, the reason the design guidelines are on the Mass Historic Commission website is because they're used for local historic districts. And if we ever create a local historic district, then we probably do need to post them. But if we're just using them in an advisory way, I don't think we have to right now. But eventually we might want to, because hopefully it would save us
Yeah,
a lot of educating during our meetings.
right. People would read them and see what, you know, we're sort of looking for, and
It's
Yeah.
kind of useless to have them if we're not sharing them with anybody but us too, you know.
right. I think that they need to be shared with the public at some point, but let's get through the select board first.
Yeah, exactly. And the planning board, because they can be challenging too. Okay. And then Jim, do you, well, let's see, I guess I can talk about Eric Dre's Form Bs. I think I've mentioned this before. So before Lynn's Mileage, we had a preservation specialist whose name is Eric Dre. And he's actually well reputed on the Cape. He's a professor, or was at BU, related to preservation. But somehow something happened so that he had a batch of Form Bs that were not completed and sent to the Mass Historical Commission. And apparently our historical commission was supposed to have edited them and sent them back to him, and that didn't happen. And so he never sent the final copies to the Mass Historical Commission. And that's why they aren't on MACRIS, the digital system through Mass Historic. So we need to figure out some way to complete that process. So I had sent Jim an email asking if we have a way to use any of the funds that we've been giving so far by the CPC to finish that process. Do you have a sense, Jim?
Yes, it's feasible to do. We've not exhausted the funds in the 2019 grant, and there will be another on approval of the town meeting that we'll have access to on July 1st. So I mean, I realize that's a delay, but I'm not worried about the funding for that.
Okay.
Can I ask though, if we have to be, we're the ones who would do the editing, right?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So if we have them, we can edit them. We can return them to Eric and say, can you please submit these to MACRIS as part of the original contract? Why do we have to have extra money?
Well, yeah, I need to be sure about that. It seemed like what he was saying was that there was more money that was due him, and that's partly why it wasn't completed, but I'm not positive. I've been having a hard time getting a completely straight story from anybody involved in this on either side.
Okay.
Mhm.
So,
Well, maybe what we can do is go ahead from our perspective and edit those
yeah,
and have them in a final version. And then whenever we can either maybe just submit them ourselves to Macros.
I don't think so. It's a whole process.
Okay, so then we get him back to Eric and say, okay, we've done this. You need to tell us what we haven't paid you for that you've already done. And then we'd like you to submit these to Macros, you know?
Right, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, and then we also have 15 new updated forms from Lynn Smilage that just came in.
Oh, great.
So we have a number, I think we should probably start with editing Lynn's because, you know, she's here and with us and we're ready to go with that. So we need to figure out who's going to do that editing. And Jim's, do you have thoughts about that, Jim?
Her work is perfectly fine. It seems to me there's very little editing that's required, and she's very receptive to any changes or inquiries about things. I'd certainly be willing to read them.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay. Do you want help with that from anybody? Because I imagine, you know, I don't know. I mean, I guess I was thinking that especially Tim and Susan might be interested in helping.
sure,
But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we could divvy them. That's fine. Yeah.
I mean, I think, so what is the process? So can we actually physically edit the Form Bs and then send them back to her? Or do we have to highlight our edits and then send them with our comments back?
Tim has a whole system.
Okay.
I could just talk with you about how he's done it. Do you want to say
Yeah.
briefly, Jim?
Well, yeah, I converted the PDFs to Word documents
Mhm.
and then used track changes to indicate areas that or commented on areas using that tool. And that worked very well. And then Lynn made the changes.
Okay. So how many are we talking, how many of Eric's and how many of Lynn's are there? How many has Lynn submitted?
She has 15 right now.
It's 15. Eric, it's much more. I think it's, I don't remember the number. Do you have it, Jim?
I was going to ask that question because I'm not sure, but it seems that there was a remainder in his contract that he was over $2,000 that he was not paid, I guess. It's strange, but
Yeah, that's what he's
but he
saying.
didn't do the work either. So, I mean, he's not owed that money, but it doesn't exist anymore because I assume it was paid to Lynn, who succeeded him.
I think that may be true. So I will contact him and find out what would be involved if we decide to go ahead with this. And then I guess the other issue is, would it be possible for Lynn to finish up this process with us rather than Eric? And
Yeah.
I don't know if she'd be willing to do that since he did all the writing.
But
That
wait,
would be kind of
do
strange.
we owe Eric money for work that he's completed?
No,
I think that we would owe
I don't
him
think
money.
so. No.
I
Okay.
think that if we ask him to do this extra step, we would owe him money. I think
That's
that's.
that's right.
Is that right, Jim? Oh, okay.
That's what I understand. That's as I understand it. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will clarify, I'll try to clarify more with him about that. And see if I can get any more information from the previous people that were dealing with him.
So,
I am happy to do some reading as well. I was
Great.
sitting that one out because I wanted to see how it played out, but I'm definitely happy to, I mean, things are crazy for the next month or so, but I'm happy to do.
yeah, I've
some-
got very little time. So
Yeah.
if you guys want to do that, great. And I can help with the Eric ones once we clarify what that situation is, but Lynn Smilages are only 15. I think that we could probably you guys could read them, get our comments, and we could just put those to bed.
Mhm.
Sounds like Susan and Tim are busy in the next month and it'd be better not to do it now. And that you could do it for Eric's and not for Lynn's. Is that right? Did I hear you right?
I was saying Lynn sounds easier.
It is. Yeah.
Is it just a
Things
matter?
we could do now and put to bed. I mean, there are only 15 of them, and then we could send it back to her and
Right.
then we could
I'm just trying to
update the
figure
drive
out
with the
who's-
final versions.
I'm just trying to get clear about who's doing it. That's all.
Is it just a matter of proofreading or is it, I mean, I don't, have the background probably for.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's proofreading. We're not second guessing her research. Yeah.
Matt can proofread.
We're
sure.
assuming the validity of her research, and that's not about assumption. But
Yeah, she does a great job.
it's just a matter of,
Although I should say the tricky part is about, Mac, if you're comfortable changing out of PDF and into Word and using this editing document, that works better that way, I think.
I think I can do that.
Oh, great.
Uh-oh.
So maybe you and Jim and Tim, if you have time, could talk about maybe just looking at Lynn's and getting those done and
Yeah.
returned to her, and then they'd be submitted. And then once you figure out what's going on with Eric, Meryl, we can tackle that later.
Yeah, great.
Mhm.
All right. So Jim, are you okay with just communicating with Mac and Tim? And
That's fine. Yes.
thank you.
That's
And
great.
Tim, did you want to add anything else about this, about the historic plan, or was there anything on your end as well?
What
No,
was that?
it's-
Sorry. Okay.
No, I think that's fine.
Okay, great. Just wanted to be sure. Okay,
Thank
and
you.
then the next item is about creating a historical commission website. Jim, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, well, it's certainly feasible to do, and the funds, it could be underwritten with CPC funding as part of our public education process or mandate. And I had sort of recommended that we engage a consultant on this, Andrea Pluhar, who this is her specialty, and she's done a number of these. She's done the Wellfleet Public Library, and I believe she's also done the Historical Society's website. And I did check with her. She's available. She's enthused about doing something like this. She said it's right up her alley. And as a next step, she proposes that she discuss it with those of us who are going to undertake it to see what the components would be and what the design would be. And as to her rates, I know that from experience with her at the AIM thrift shop, she, her rates are quite reasonable for nonprofits and for governmental entities. She sees it as a public service. So I think she'd be an excellent contributor and would help us with this. It can be seen as sort of a do-it-yourself process, but I think we want it to look right and represent us well.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Some
How
of
do
the
you spell her,
do-yourself projects are, yeah.
how do you spell her last name? Jim?
Pluhar,
Okay.
Andrea Pluhar.
I mean, I having done websites, it's great if you have somebody managing the technical parts of it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just like and they can
She
really,
does
it's so much easier for them to whip through that kind of stuff. And we give them the content and the kind of
Yeah.
the way people would interact with the website, and she
Yeah.
could design it.
She's very collaborative, and she
Great.
has an artistic bent, and she does very nice work.
Great. Well, thank
That
you.
sounds
so much for
great.
Making that connection, Jim.
I think we should meet with her.
Yes,
Those of us who are working on the website and,
right.
talking through what she does and what we were thinking, and then get a proposal from her that would have some
Yeah.
money attached to it.
That would definitely be the next step, and I'd be happy to arrange that.
That would be great. So it was you, me, and Tim last time. I don't know if you still have interest, Tim.
Yeah, I'm absolutely happy to be involved.
Okay, great.
I think I should be involved in this as well,
Good.
because I've done a fair amount of writing about
Sure.
what we do, and we could probably use some of that for the.
Great. Okay, so Jim will set up some time where we can all get together and talk about
Yep.
this with her.
I will
Fantastic.
do that.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, and then, all right, so the next item is discussing a workshop and presentation. And
So
I guess-
I'm embarrassed to say that since Tim and I were charged with this at our last meeting, my family has either been utterly sick with COVID or we've been dealing with a death in the family, and I haven't done anything, but I will reach Tim and we will put our heads together.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And actually, I've emailed you, Gordon, but please don't respond when you can. Personal is more important. But I have spoken to my office, and one of the suggestions that actually came up, which was really interesting, was speak to the MLS, and they have what's called open house tours and MLS tours, which aren't actually a lot of the times in a physical location, but they're online Zoom meetings, but they get sent out to the entire Cape, and everyone who's a realtor has to be a member of it. And it comes up, usually these meetings come up as soon as you log in to check out the MLS listings. And so you'll get a flash when you log on, and it would say something like, there's a historic information if you're operating in Wellfleet. And I thought that was one good way to go about it, as opposed to reaching out, because there's so many, it's surprising how many offices and small offices and people who work from, way down, that we end up emailing everybody. If we go that route, we sort of cover all our bases, and it might be an easier way to do with that. So I thought I'd contact MLS just to see what that process looks like.
That sounds great. Yeah,
Great.
good.
Okay.
Excellent.
So Tim, I'm thinking that if you're going to be actively involved in planning the workshop, it might make sense if you don't want to do both things, because I'm aware that you're working and you're in school. And
I'll be in my house in like a month, and then everything should slow down a little bit.
Right.
As I said last time, it was like I was making concrete counters, and now I'm sheathing the thing, and we have a wedding in June. Like, everything's slightly crazy. So I want to help, but maybe I'm overextending a little.
Yeah, so feel free to, set limits about what's possible and what's not for you. I would be happy to take your end of the website and let you work on this workshop with Gordon, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay. Terrific.
Maybe even this weekend, if you have time, we can sit on my front porch and we can talk about it. I'll be back in Wellfleet late Thursday night.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll be sheathing the ceiling in my attic.
I'll come to your new attic. I know where it is.
I do want to say also, Susan, we got the letter from the historic board because we had purchased the house this past year, and it was such a nice thing to see. My fiance was like, "What is this?" I was like, "I know exactly what that is." It was great.
Don't panic. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting that Bombara, the guy who showed up just because he received that letter, and as the town is letting me know now, anytime a house 75 years or older is being sold, and I just will automatically shoot out a letter. So
it would have helped Caitlin at 181 Holbrook too.
It would have been great for her. Yeah. Or any homeowner. And it's important for us to do that, so people are aware right away before they start, doing projects or going to the building inspector or whatever. So
thanks so much for doing that, Susan. It's great.
Yeah, really good.
My pleasure.
Yeah. All right. So the last item is prioritizing projects, because as I started making this agenda, I was thinking, oh my God, are we setting ourselves up for too much in this coming year? And should we think about whether we can really do all of this? Because I feel like our primary responsibilities in terms of our mandate are to have these meetings about people's proposals and to keep updating the historic inventories, because they inform our work and it's a service for the town. And so I think we need to keep that in mind as, that's what's highlighted about what's most important. And then I think in order to do our work, we need to keep working on informing the public about historic preservation and why it's important. So the website to me feels like it's, I guess I should say I'm a little ambivalent about the website, frankly.
I think it's really important. I think it would be an incredible, it would make it so much easier for people to find information. We could have all the Form Bs on there. We could have something about historic preservation and its importance to the town, the bylaw,
It also gives us presence and credibility. Yeah. I mean, it's our place. I think that it really puts us out there as a viable entity, as opposed to being a subset of a subset of a subset.
I honestly think that's how people access information now. They don't go to the library looking for paper copies unless you're, 65 or older. They're looking on the website.
I mean, to my way of thinking, and I'm just hanging on to the success that we had at our last sort of public presentation, when Lynn went through all of that and people were begging for more information.
Yeah.
And I recognize that realtors are important, but if we're sort of concerned about being a brand and getting ourselves out there and also educating and informing the public, I feel that Tim and I can kind of get out to realtors, but in terms of an actual presentation, having Lynn come back and give another presentation, I think would be met with applause from the townspeople.
And the other thing about our website is we could include links to these videos that we have. So we could include a
Right.
link to Lynn's first thing. And if we did anything for the MLS, we'd include a link for that. So
Right.
it's like a centralized place that people can just easily find this information.
Yeah.
And I agree about the Lynn Smilage thing. That was terrific. And if we
It was
could have her,
terrific.
if we could have her come back and talk about, everybody wants to know about Boundbrook and houses moved from Billingsgate and Boundbrook. And I know there's not a lot of information, but she can say anecdotally, these are the houses that we've heard have at least portions of them that were moved.
And Peter McMahon, and also Peter McMahon with the modern houses of Wellfleet. There's something in that.
The
too.
modern, we should really have something on there. That would be
That's true.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Maybe we
there's-
should do that, because I have talked with Lynn about talking about the houses that have been moved, and she's not enthused about that option because she feels whatever.
Maybe we should
maybe
ask her
more
what
than
she
that.
feels, maybe we should ask her what she feels comfortable in presenting and what she thinks she can put together as a good presentation.
Okay.
And I
that's-
think
Yeah.
moving forward with the modern house one, we could just focus on that this year.
That's great. You know, it's interesting. Ed gave me this modern house encyclopedia that's a worldwide encyclopedia. And there are 3 pages devoted to Wellfleet.
Yeah, I have that book.
Oh,
Do you? I was shocked. I turned the page. I was, oh, look there.
Maybe
I
so,
also,
I would say if we're going to do a public education piece this year, besides the MLS one, because that might be an easy thing for us to do
Yeah,
informationally for brokers.
Yeah.
But if we had the modern house thing, I think that would also really draw interest to our website because there's so many people interested in modern houses on the Cape now.
And also going back even further, not just looking at the houses themselves, but why was Wellfleet such a sort of mecca for that? How did people obtain the land? What,
Right.
you know, I mean, I think there's a whole story to that, and
Absolutely.
Peter knows all of that stuff.
That would be great.
Yeah, if he's.
I also
willing
just
to
want to
do
throw
it.
out there, because I agree with the website being extremely important as someone who came on a while ago, not really knowing, knowing the purview of the historic board, but not knowing the requirements, and then dealing with the town webpage, which is actually really difficult to navigate. And even in talking with Thor, like, who has worked with you guys and has had a past, and it's still, when I talk to them, they're like, we still have no idea how to go about this. And they're working on it, and I think Flo did a great job. But the point is I think that having easy access to all that information is extremely important right away, and having it all condensed in one space. But also, and maybe this is just an idea to play with. But when you have the forms listed and then list the documentation, like the photographs and everything, maybe having examples would be a really good and helpful thing, because we get such a variation on according to what people hand in, even just today, that it might be good to show some examples as well and have it like, here's the form and here's how it should look.
That's a great idea.
A really good idea. You know, interestingly, Andrew, who I've known since he was a kid, by the way, really followed kind of the guidelines, right? We said side by side, above and below. I mean, a narrative describing the whole thing.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he really did a good job for Roland, kind of presenting all that. And occasionally people do, and then you get something like that little 40-inch edition on Pilgrim Spring Road, where I can't even, I don't even know what it is. So sometimes people look at it and sometimes people don't, but I can do in my office, have somebody draft up just a made up presentation. I'll have one of my drafters do it.
That's a great idea.
Great.
Yeah, and then we can just put that, so it's not related to Wellfleet at all. Just, I'll make up a house, I'll make up an addition.
And I think when we do the website, we just make it, we don't fill it with a lot of information. We have very clear links for people to go to, and it needs to be easily navigated and provide the information that we need them to have.
And needs to talk about collaboration to some extent. I think that word collaboration is really important. And I think that in the past, we have not been so collaborative and we didn't get very far.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think now we're getting pretty far. We're sort of getting what we want.
But like, you know, I don't even think tons of photographs make sense. Like, I think examples make sense, but that's the Historical Society's job. Like, this needs to be, well, the
Right.
Historical Commission, we can have a picture of the town or historic buildings in the town, but, you know, it's not a, unless we want to have a separate link for those images, I just think we really need to keep it.
I would say it's like, who has to come before us? What's the process?
Right. What's historic preservation?
Right. Well, what does an
Preservation
application look
Wellfleet.
like? Here's an example of it. And
Right, who the board is, you know, what.
right, and then we can have our guidelines or the
Right, we can add
federal
all that
guidelines.
stuff, right,
Yeah.
right,
But just clear.
yeah.
And a mission statement, which we probably need to write. But
We probably need to develop one of those.
yeah,
Oh.
we need a
But
mission
we
statement.
We have
We
a
kind of have a definition.
Yeah. So just so my ambivalence was primarily about the fact that all of us aren't always going to be on the historical commission, and somebody needs to maintain the website if we have our own. So we'll need to have a system in place where there's a way that that happens, because I did look at some of the other boards and committees that have their own websites. And some of them seem to have been created and then, you know, everybody's busy. Nobody maintained it. And so it's out of date. I just want to be sure that what we create is alive and keeps going after after we're
I
done.
totally agree.
Mhm.
Well, I
And I
think that whoever's putting it together, and maybe this is something we do while they do that, is to have them either write out or have one of us write out how to edit it. When I worked at restaurants, we would have a website that was created 10 years ago, but when we got onboarded as management, it would be like, this is how you change the website, and everyone learned that first day. So that way it's sort of a master guide, and then you
Right.
can go on and it can live on.
Absolutely. And if we use a Squarespace or something, it's so easy to do anyway.
Yeah.
It's just, I think we just need to document that, have that on the drive for anybody who needs to change anything on the website, and just make that available to whoever happens to be on the board at the time.
Meryl, it was your idea to have a website, and I know that you're hesitant about certain aspects of it, but I just want to say that I commend you for it. I think it's a great idea.
Mhm.
I do too.
I think it really puts us, I think it gives us presence.
Yeah, I do too. And I
Yeah.
think it does give us a lot more flexibility to do a lot more with our portion of the website.
Yeah.
So I agree with everything everybody's been saying. I just got a little bit of cold feet. I started thinking it could cost us a lot more money than I was thinking originally. And are we really going to maintain it? But this feels better. And I'm so
I
glad
think
that
it's easy to
everybody-
maintain those. I think it's just that somebody, I would say the secretary or the co-chairs or the chair would, as part of their job description, would be responsible for maintaining the website, keeping the website up to date.
That's a good idea. We just need to be sure the secretary always has as good computer skills as you do, Susan.
Right, or it could be you or Gordon or whoever takes over in that position, but just someone be responsible for that as part of their job description, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Then I think it's fine.
yeah. Okay.
And you know, I look at the people coming before us, and there've been quite a few very young homeowners, not very, very young relatively, but people in their 30s and 40s who they're not going to go to the library and look up stuff up. So they
No.
need to.
I don't even do that.
I don't either. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Well,
why.
during COVID, nobody does that. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if we get those Form Bs on the website, can figure out a way to do that. We don't even need to have paper copies.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the tricky part is I'm not sure we can get, I don't know that we will ever have all of the Form Bs on our website, and I'm not sure we will ever have all of them on Macris. And so I think
Right.
the only place right now that all of the Form Bs exist is the library in paper.
We could tell
form.
people to check two places, check Macris and then check another
Right,
link.
library. Right.
That's true. Yeah. And,
Mhm.
I mean, we could go to a whole lot of trouble with the library and try to digitize all of that, but I don't think we want to do that.
Oh, God, no, that would be insane.
Well-
Yeah.
And Meryl, I'm concerned about how much you do.
Thank you, Gordon.
And because you do a tremendous amount. And I know I see it in all ways, and I sort of am interested in architecture and kind of do that. And some other stuff, but please, Meryl, let's keep spreading out what you're working on so that you don't become burned out and take on too much.
Thank you. I'm working
Very
on
good
that.
point. And same with you, Gordon. I think that, you seem like you're pretty good about
I'm good at saying that.
designating people. What's the term I'm looking for? I can't.
Delegating.
Delegating, thank you. It's getting too late. It's been a long day. About delegating, and that's important to do. You just have to. make
And,
sure.
and the commission won't survive well if other people don't
That's it,
share in what's going on and become a new generation of commissioners.
right?
I mean, it's very important that none of us hangs on to
Right.
anything ourselves for too long.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that,
speaking of which. I'm
yes.
sorry, Didn't mean to interrupt you. You want to finish?
No, that's just what I was thinking.
Okay. So I've been thinking that we might need you to train somebody to do the meetings.
Sure, happy to do that.
Because we had a close call this month, and I think it would be great to have, I mean, you've been so terrific about putting together the materials, and I know you have help from people in the office to do that, but
I do.
I wonder if we could have a backup person, and if anybody would like to be the backup person for, putting together the materials for the meeting and running the Zoom meeting. I'll continue to moderate, but would anybody else be open to being trained? Jump up and down, all of you, please.
Interestingly, guys, I have to share with you, the hardest part of it, believe it or not, is going through the Gmail account and finding the actual application. Because the Gmail account, things are connected to other things and they're related to this and to that. And I had 3 people in my office today searching the Gmail account because I just got back this morning to try to just find the applications. And I wonder if we should amend the directions to say, please, when you send the email, put in the title application or something like that.
Makes sense.
So we can find it, because what happens is the responses go back and forth, and then there are various paper clips you can click onto and other things come up. It becomes, Gmail is, I find it very cumbersome. That's the only hard part. The rest of it, if people send you everything in PDF format, all you do is download it to your computer screen and
Just
then
click on it.
log into the Zoom.
Yep.
Click the share screen icon because you're the host, and just open up the icons you've put on your desktop. It's not that complicated if you can find the applications.
I mean, I'm happy to, that sounds easy. It's just the finding of the application. So I'd be happy to do that if you weren't able to, Gordon.
Thank you. We need to figure out a way on our application. We need to amend something somewhere. And I don't know enough about Gmail to figure out exactly what that is yet, in order to make it easier to find the applications.
I think you're right, Gordon. I think if we have that they need to put in the subject line, application and the address.
And only have the application attached to that. Don't have a chain of emails associated with that particular email.
Yeah. So of course, this is why we want to create a new website, because just to get that changed on the town website seems to take forever and ever. But I will do what I can to communicate with the person who's our secretary, but also the secretary for at least 3 other committees, and see when she can do that.
It's so overworked. I mean, it's just.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah.
So honestly, today, I mean, what took time was just finding the applications. The rest of it happens easily.
So, what I'm realizing is when I put the agenda together, I have to find the applications. And so I should probably be doing that piece while I'm putting together the agenda and just sending you those applications separately.
Yeah, and we should also put them on the drive under the Form B for that house. So I've been saving, and I can do this for this time, any application material which you send us in advance, I save under the address on the drive. So that supplementary documentation is there.
So
That's just, I haven't gone backwards to that. It's just what I've done now. So all the applications we've had since I've been secretary, I just make sure that the application material is associated with the address.
So Susan, you and I could have a Zoom
Yeah.
about how to do the actual hosting part of it. And I can ask Katie to send you a link and we can just set up a Zoom.
Yeah, no problem.
And I can go through all that with you. And if Meryl, you actually send the applications, but where are you sending? You just send them in a separate email through the.
Susan, hold on though. It sounds like Susan's already doing that she's taking the applications and putting them on the drive. So that would make it easier for you. You don't have to go through the Gmail. Am I
But
right?
I only take stuff that you send me already. So you've already pulled it
Yeah.
out.
They've already
Send it
been
on
gleaned.
as part
before
of the
Susan.
agenda. And so then I just add them.
Is it what I send you or what Gordon sends you?
It's what whoever sends the application material to the all of us to review before the meeting?
That's Gordon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
If
it's
it's
me.
Gordon, that's what I do it
Right.
from.
So I will
Right.
I'll send the information to Gordon, and then the two of you can coordinate about you leading the Zoom meetings. And if in the future you are leading the Zoom meetings, I will send you that information from the
Great.
Gmail. Okay, and we'll see how that works.
Yeah, that'd be
Right.
great.
Okay,
It's, hard to find them, Meryl. As you know.
yeah,
But I
okay,
think we should still have a way to ask people to have the word application put in the app. We can even say when they send one in, please resend this application with the subject line, application and the address.
yeah, without any additional emails.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's great. All right. All right, this has been a terrific meeting. I want to thank you all for being such an awesome team. And I think we're doing great work.
I do
Yeah, I think
too.
we're doing good.
Yeah.
And I also think we're,
Welcome back.
yeah, I also think we're establishing sort of ways of doing things that can be passed on,
Yeah, which is important.
and
And
keeping it.
one point about I will not be at March's meeting. I'm gonna be in southern Spain, so somebody's gonna have to take notes and do the minutes. I know, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Can we come with?
Yeah,
Anybody
so if
like
somebody
to
can do that, that
volunteer
would be
this?
great. And so I just won't be there next month at all.
I
Okay,
take notes because I'm clicking all over the place.
yeah.
You can't do it,
And
no.
I can't take notes because I'm moderating. Would any of the three of you be interested in trying out secretary?
Sure, I'd be happy to do it.
Thank you,
Jimmy,
Jim.
Yeah, you've done it before, haven't you? So you're
Yes,
experienced.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Anybody notice the Hearst building is right behind me?
I was gonna say, that's
Yes.
one of my favorites. It's great.
Yeah, it's right outside my office window.
When
Nice.
I talked to Gordon, I thought it wasn't real. It looks
Yeah.
like interesting.
It's real and it's empty because of COVID.
Mhm.
All the buildings are empty. It's amazing. It's
All day
busy.
long, I look at that building and occasionally I see somebody on a treadmill. That's
Okay.
a literal treadmill, not the New York figurative treadmill.
Yeah. So we do need to approve the minutes from the last time. So
Excuse
we need to approve the minutes from the,
Oh,
Yes.
appro- Thank you. Okay, so Susan sent out her minutes. I thought they looked terrific.
Yes,
Does anybody have any concerns about the minutes, or shall we?
I move that they be approved.
I second the motion.
okay.
So everybody vote yes.
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 Okay. Anything about accounting, Jim, that we need to cover?
No, there is nothing.
Okay, and Susan, we have you on correspondence and social media. We've covered some of that already.
Social media, I don't really do. What do you mean by that? I don't do any social media.
I know it's just on the agenda. It's just in case we need to talk about it. We talked about the website. I think of that as social media.
Oh, okay, good. Because that's the only social media I'm gonna do. I'm not doing an Instagram post. You're great at that.
Thank you. And the next meeting is the 22nd, 22, and Susan will not be here and Jim will be secretary.
Mhm.
I guess I just want to be sure before we finish, in terms of prioritizing projects, I'm thinking that if we're doing the website, I'm not sure it makes sense to also try to plan a workshop. I think that's going to burn me out anyway.
Well, then don't do it.
Unless somebody takes that on completely and I'm not involved with it, but
I think the website is more important than the workshop.
okay, I agree.
Or the other thing is let's table the workshop for a while. I mean, it's
Yeah.
only February. Let's see how the website goes. And then once that's
Right.
kind of, we feel good about that, maybe we can do a modern house.
Good idea.
On how quickly we can get it in
Yeah.
place.
We'd have to talk to Peter anyway, and he's not the easiest, he's sometimes complicated.
Well, and he's spoken all over the place, so I don't know if he'd do it for us, but
Yeah, I don't know.
and he might want a fee, but I'm happy.
Right.
Do you want to talk to him, Gordon, architect to architect?
Happy to talk to him.
Okay, although
Feel him out.
why don't we wait though, because we don't know for sure whether we're doing it.
Well, I'll talk to him about, just whet his appetite a bit. Say we talked about it, but just began to talk about it.
All right, great. And if you and Tim want to continue to talk about reaching out to realtors, that's cool. I guess I'll just not be involved in that, and you feel free to do whatever you want to do.
Thanks. I think Tim and I can just do that. I think that's fine, Meryl.
All right.
And Meryl, you'll continue to delegate, please. And when you need help, you'll raise your hand, please.
Yes, thank you very much.
because
And
it's a
Matt, I
lot.
would like to say it's very nice to have you back again. I hope you had a great time in Europe.
It was great. Well, it ended the night before we were supposed to fly home. My two daughters and I sat down and tested ourselves, and we were all positive.
Oh, no.
Had an extra week.
Oh, God.
No
Oh, you got a
way.
week
Oh,
out
my
of it.
Where were you at the time?
We were in Florence, and fortunately, our apartment was available still.
Wow. My
Wow.
daughter just called me. She just got it. She's just tested positive.
Yeah,
You know,
Your
it's just
daughter?
everywhere.
we all had it. Everybody in my family, even
Yeah.
our 6-month-old grandson had it. And,
Oh, that's
and now
awful.
and Ed's mother tested positive 7 days before she passed away.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
And it's hard to say that it's directly attributable to that, but it seems like it's
Certainly a
more of a,
factor. Yeah.
certainly a contributing factor. Very
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. What a shame.
Well, Mac, you knew her. You met her.
I did indeed. And she'd been very sick all summer, right?
Say it again.
She'd been very sick all summer.
She had been sick. Yeah.
Ed was going down there every
Yes,
day.
Ed had gone down there a few times and then she rebounded and she was doing really well. And then she decided she wanted to go back to the poker game at the Dallas Country Club. And so she started going back and playing poker at the Dallas Country Club where no one wears a mask. And people say everybody should just get it, then we'll have herd immunity. And then she got it.
Oh,
My goodness.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, well, wishing you all good health in the next month.
You too, you guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care, everybody.
And
Take
take
care.
a wonderful trip, and
Thank
we'll see
you.
you when you get back.
Thanks, Tim. I'll talk to you over the weekend, I hope.
Sounds good, Gordon. Thank you.
Take
Bye,
care,
everybody.
everybody.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be really fun. But I'll see you in April, everybody.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Take